All right, we have a great show for you today. I'm going to be interviewing the host of Mompreneur Show, Vicky Lashenko, and we're going to be talking about how to run a one-woman show or one-person show. Nobody knows this better than Vicky. It's going to be a good show for you. Tune in, ask your questions, and she has some great gear and tips to share with you, so I don't think you're going to want to miss this. This is Wirecast Live. Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Wirecast Live. I'm your host, Andrew Haley, the live streaming and product evangelist here at Telestream, and it's my job every week at 2:30 p.m., it's one of my favorite parts of my job, to come on here and talk to experts in their field, bring on people who are streaming live with video or going out to the world telling their story. Maybe they're hobbyists, maybe they're experts, maybe they're one-woman shows like Vicky today. And everybody that I've interviewed, I always get to meet the most interesting people, and we try to bring out the things that are making them excellent at what they do. And they can share a lot of things that I just don't know about, or things that might help you in your own live streaming efforts. So if you're curious about this is the place to come. Every Thursday at 2:30 p.m. Pacific time, you can find us here. We'll be live, and you can find us on these social media channels. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope. And you can subscribe, like, follow, or share. We really love it when you share it with new people and bring in new audience members. We also usually have time for questions, and you can join the conversation. Typically, we grab those on our YouTube chat as well as our Facebook chat. So those are the places to kind of tune in and join the conversation, ask questions. We also have great guests booked. We try to bring on the best people on the show and really unpack what they do. So I'm going to do a few announcements for you guys, and then we will bring on our guest for today. So next week, there actually won't be a show. So we try to let you know ahead of time when that happens. I'll be out in Dallas for the WFX event, and I will be at a booth there, and you can stop by if you happen to be in Dallas. It should be fun, but no show next week. But right after that, we're back here with another awesome show on how to use Tyler Live 3 in Wirecast with Travis White from New Blue Effects. And I know this is a hot topic these days because with Wirecast 8, which is now available, go get your copy if you haven't yet, you get the ability to bring in Facebook Live comments directly onto the screen. You get amazing new titles, templates, and graphics, and a whole bunch of other capabilities that New Blue's packed into this version. So I'm really excited to sit down with Travis because there's a lot of questions I have for him and a lot of things I think you're going to want to know. So tune in for that. That'll be in 2 weeks. And if you want to get notifications, if you don't like the Facebook or YouTube notifications, we have an email list. You're welcome to subscribe there. Go to www.telestream.net/WirecastLive. And you can sign up there, and we will send an email right to your inbox letting you know when we're live, just once a week, and we'll usually give you some information about the upcoming guest or topic for that week. All right, I hope to see you here on our next show. And in the meantime, I'd like to say hi to some of the folks tuning in. So say hi, tell us where you're watching from, and let us know you're out there. I can see that Lou's out there. Thanks for joining in. Loves me some Wirecast. I'm glad you like that. Nick, hello, welcome. And Mad T Show. That's an awesome name, Mad T Show. I don't think you've joined us before. At least I haven't seen that name pop up before, but welcome. Does anyone know if it's possible to run Skype in Wirecast Play is the question he's asking. And it is possible to do a screen capture with Wirecast Play, so you can absolutely grab your Skype call, almost similar to what we're doing here today, bringing our guests in. And on Facebook, I want to say hi, shout out to Lutz and Alan and Michelle and John and Dave. Thanks for joining. Dave from Australia. So welcome. All right, guys. Well, I want to bring our guest for today because she's really the star of the show. And if you haven't heard of her or you don't know what she's doing, she is the host of the weekly Mompreneur Show. And she is a mom and an entrepreneur and a wonderful live broadcaster and just a wonderful all-around human being. And I'm really excited to bring her on the show today. We've kind of watched her do a lot of broadcasts over the last year or so, and when she really came on our radar, and we're actually featuring her in our Wirecast videos. So I'm very pleased to bring on Vicky Lashenko, the host of Mompreneur Show. Welcome, Vicky.
Hi, Andrew. So good to be here.
So glad to have you. Thanks for being here and making time for us.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. So, Vicky, I always do this, but when we bring on a show or a guest that not everybody may know about your career, tell us a little bit about who you are and how you got into live broadcasting.
Well, Andrew, I am a mom, first and foremost, a wife, an entrepreneur. I work with mom entrepreneurs and helping them grow their businesses. And I used to be a podcast junkie. I used to listen to podcasts whenever I got a chance, when I'm driving to appointment without my kids, when I'm taking a walk, when I'm washing the dishes, you name it. And almost every single time I listened to an interview, I always had a question for the guest. Either it was a follow-up question or something to do with a detail that they mentioned that I wanted them to expand on, but I could never ask them live. And that was so frustrating because it was obviously pre-recorded. And I tried to find their Twitter username and try to tweet them, but I would not always get a response. And I always said this to myself: when I'm going to have an interview show, it's going to be live. And it's so funny because I had no intention of having an interview show or anything like that. I just always said that because it was such a frustration. And so when it came time to do the show, because I was surrounded by mom entrepreneurs and I was building this incredible community, and the moms wanted stories and they wanted to hear other stories of other mom entrepreneurs. And I was like, I think we got something here.
Yeah.
And so I was like, but we're doing it live. We're not doing it any other way. And nothing like, I'm not super techie. So that's why if you're not super techie, I think you're going to be really excited for the show because I keep things really, really, really simple. And I'm just going to show you how I do it, which is super, super simple. And you can just do it on your own. You don't have to have a whole team. But when I was starting out, I didn't know like the live stream, the Wirecast. I know I have a friend who used to do live videos on YouTube, but I was like so complicated. And so I just started doing them on Blab. If you remember.
A lot of people that have been on the show started on Blab, and I think Blab really had something there. It was a very simple sort of back and forth split screen interview process, right? And conversation.
It was very simple. And I used Blab for about 4 months. And about 3 months in, I started to hear rumors that it was going away. And I was like, wait, are you serious? No way, it cannot be. And then around the same time, I started hearing rumors that Facebook Live was coming and that Wirecast can potentially be something that we can use to go live. And I was like, okay, that's it. I'm diving in. And the week that I got Wirecast, like 3 days later, I went live on Facebook with a guest from Australia who woke up at 5:30 in the morning.
Wow, nice work.
No, I'm sorry, at 2:30 in the morning.
2:30?
To make it to my show, yes, so she could be a guest. So it was like a really quick transition for me, and it was kind of like, I don't want to stay behind with Blab and then get frustrated because they're closing down. I want to move on because I want to keep the show going.
Right.
And so I'm so thankful that you guys were right there holding my hand. Goodness gracious, I remember how many support tickets I submitted and how much tears I cried in the beginning.
But no, we don't like that. We don't like it when our customers are crying tears. Hopefully those have turned into smiles. Okay. But yeah, live streaming is complicated. It can be a little challenging. You learn stuff through mistakes, and because it's live, you don't have the advantage or benefit of making mistakes without anybody noticing, right? And then with the challenges also come the rewards. Like you say, we get to interact live with people right now, like Bridget and Michelle and the Mad T Show and a bunch of the people that are tuning in right now. So we couldn't do that unless we were doing that. And part and parcel of that, of course, are all the mistakes and the learning curves. So what are some of the big lessons that you've learned in this past year?
To prepare, to be more prepared. Like, I have so many things going on in my life, although I try to keep my life really, really simple. But come on, I have 2 kids, and then I have my consulting business and all these things that I do. And it's so hard to be really, really organized and on top of things and getting everything ready. So I oftentimes found myself scrambling, 30 minutes before the show and creating graphics and creating visuals for the show. And then one of, I think, my biggest mistakes that I've done is not to ask my guest about their internet connection. And I mean, I had quite a few failed shows because I didn't take the time, or I didn't even know to ask the guests, hey, what's your internet like?
Right.
Because, like, for example, you and I, we both understand that internet is very crucial in online broadcasting. But a mom who makes cute clothing and sells them on Etsy has no idea.
Right.
So I have to always make it, make sure. And so um I would I would not ask, and they would not know, I have internet, it's great. And then they would come on and it would be really spotty. I couldn't hear her. And eventually, like, the connection would just break off and we wouldn't
Right.
be able to go on with the show. So now I always ask, what's your internet speed?
And what is your sort of cutoff point?
So it's tricky because for me, I live in a really rural area in South Carolina. And so the best internet I can get is 7 upload.
Okay.
And I don't even care about download. Download is always good.
Right.
Download is like 100. But 7 upload is the best I can do, which kind of breaks my heart a little bit because I want at least 10.
Right.
But for my guest, it really depends. It has to be at least 3 or 4 upload
And we're
on
talking
their end.
megabits per second.
Yes.
Okay, the standard unit of measurement for internet connections. It used to be kilobits per second back, I don't know if you had modems, 14.4 dial-up, 28.8, but back in the day, you were flying if you had 56 kilobits per second upload or download.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
Andrew, I'm techie, but I'm not techie.
Yeah.
So
All right, so you like your guests to have at least 3 or 4 megabits per second at upload speed, and you have them test it. What types of tools do you use to test?
I send them a link to speedtest.net,
Mm-hmm.
just like a really regular website to test. And we could talk about this later
Mm-hmm.
in the autumn. And I wanted to mention this before the show, and I'm so sorry I
No
didn't.
worries.
And how I automate my communication with my guests prior to having them on the show. And we can touch on that later.
That is
But
interesting.
it's in one of the forms that I have, and I ask them a question at the very end that says, what is your internet speed? And I say, please mention download and upload, because sometimes in the beginning when I would ask what's your internet speed, they'll just write 60. I'm like,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
but which one is it? So we all learn our mistakes. At least I learned on my mistakes, and so I edited that. I added the upload and download, and then I added where they can go and check their speed.
You're giving me ideas. Like, it seems like even in Wirecast or in our Wirecast Go app, a little tool or something for testing upload or download speed might be helpful. So that might be something to ask the
Absolutely.
product team to look into.
Oh, yes, that would be so, so helpful because sometimes I mean, every single time before I go live, I always check my internet connection, making sure that it's good. If not, I have a guy's number up there, the
Someone to call.
Spectrum Internet, like his direct line that I can call and say, hey, what's going on? I'm going live in 30 minutes.
This is another pro tip, guys. Get to know your internet provider on a first name basis.
Yes.
Pro tip right there. All right, so this might be a little mean, but I was looking at your show catalog here, and you mentioned that your first guest had to get up at 2:30 in the morning. So I'm on the page here. So Deborah Lee, if you have a second, if you could pull up my desktop here. And I'm wondering, was this your guest, how to start a food blog with
No,
Olga?
that was still with Blab.
With Blab,
If you can
okay.
scroll up a little bit.
All right. So we're going to scroll up, and you started Facebook right around, episode 12, episode 11? You have so many episodes here. This is amazing.
Hold on, it's back down. It's with okay, this is so embarrassing. I really really hope it's published.
Okay, maybe it's not. That's all right. We can just click on one or two of these and just see. And I can see early on you already had like your design. You had your 2-panel up. You had this wonderful like Mompreneur Show like logo, which looks like stationery almost.
Oh, that is so sweet. Okay, so I guess I used to be a designer in my previous life, how people say, I don't know. I love design. I'm not much of a designer at all, and that is so embarrassing. I need to update that.
Okay.
And here's the thing. With I switched YouTube channels
Ah, okay. So
twice.
I should be nicer and come up to like episode 50 or 60. I'm digging in the way past here.
No, I have literally a list that I'm working on with all the little kinks. And the thing is, if you don't, like when you publish an episode,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't get to it right away, if you don't go into the show notes right away and make sure everything's correct, the right video, and then if you don't do that right away, it's just gonna like
It just sits, and
lay by
then
the
your next show comes along, and you just forget, right?
yes, and you forget you don't have the time. And I actually on my summer vacation, I took my notebook and I went down all the episodes that are not published yet. I have a
Mm-hmm.
handful of episodes that are not even on my website, which is so embarrassing. And then a few of them that have the video that is not correct because I switched YouTube channels. And I think that's one of the things that you need to like really figure out before you start is like, what is your YouTube channel called?
Mm-hmm.
What is like what YouTube channel is going to house all your videos? Because what happened is that when I just started my online entrepreneurship career, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
in 2012, I used to make a ton of videos on how to merge Facebook pages or like
Right.
just like video tutorials. And so I took all the Mompreneur Show videos and I just added them into that channel. But there was no congruency. There was no like, do you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
so like
yeah. You got to keep it consistent,
so
right?
so I created a new channel called Mompreneur Show and I added them from the very, very beginning. And so there's no other clutter in the channel. So that's why I just want to tell you before you
Got it.
start that, make sure that you have everything planned out before
Right.
you just upload a whole bunch of videos to YouTube.
and not everybody can be quite that organized, or you change your mind, or you find things are going. So it's okay if you get rolling, you have a bit of a bumpy start, but it is always nice to have that stuff a little planned ahead of time, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And
Because I'm the kind of person I fly by the seat of my pants all the time.
well,
Kind of
creative
ridiculous.
types tend to be. I'm a little bit the same. You can ask Deborah Lee. I am always telling her, "Hey, I think we should do this," or "Here's a new idea. Why don't we?" She's like, "Oh my God, we just like this is
You're
gonna
the
work.
idea
It's
guy.
too much." Yeah, yeah. So a
love
couple
that.
feedback for you, like a little feedback from the audience here. Nina says she loves your logo. And Michelle
Thank you.
Kenobi says, "Nice, simple graphics, Vicky."
Thank you so much, Michelle. I really appreciate it. And Nina, thank you. I have to say, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy lives and joining us live here today. Like, I really, really appreciate it. I know you're probably here for Andrew anyways, but I'm just so
No.
thankful because it means a lot because you hopefully you'll learn something from the show. Hopefully that we can give back to you, give back for your time that you spend here with us.
Mm-hmm. And if you're in the audience, you're watching now, and you have a question for Vicky, please type it in. And also, if you have a tip, like Vicky just mentioned, she always has her guests pre-test or even tell her ahead of time what their bandwidth is, both upload and download. If you have a tip you'd like to share, please share it in the chat, and we'd love to share that with the audience. So now I want to get further in because you have some great stuff here that you've got ready that we want to share with the audience. You've created a guide for gear you've created that you use on the show, like your awesome looking microphone, which I've always admired ever since I saw it on camera.
Really? Thank you.
It's so cool. You didn't even mention in your description that you're like, it's such a good workhorse. It's so trusty, but you know what? It's not only trusty, but it looks so good. It just works perfectly with the show. So aesthetically, it's beautiful.
Thank you. Although I do have to warn you,
Uh-huh.
it is such a little cutie. It's called Meteor, and it looks like a little grenade when you pack it up, literally.
It
And
makes
so when I
them
traveled
nervous.
with it, every time I travel with it, I get stopped at the TSA and
Really?
they take it out and they look at it every single time.
Oh my gosh.
And so one guy takes it out and he's like looking at it and he's like, "Oh, it's a microphone." I'm like, "Oh yeah, it looks like a grenade, doesn't it?" Which is like the worst thing to say at TSA. And he's like, "Please don't ever say that again."
All right, so another little tip there is, you're going to pay a cost for the aesthetics. All right.
Yes.
So, and then you've got a wonderful guide on conducting side-by-side interviews and setting them up. So I really want to get to that. But before we do, let's back up one step and just talk about the idea of mompreneur. Like, When was the first time you heard that term? Where did that come from, and how did that enter your life?
That's so interesting. I'm not even sure how it came to me because I feel like the word mompreneur was already widely used
Mm.
by mom entrepreneurs across the world. I mean, there's this huge mompreneurs network in Toronto, Canada. But for me, what happened is I was at a crossroads. I had a consulting business called Small Business Gal,
Hmm.
and I first started as a virtual assistant, and they moved on into social media management, and then like did social media management consulting, and it just kind of moved my way up. And I was at that point where I was like, I don't want to work with businesses anymore.
Mm.
Like I don't want to work with like where I tell this guy this is what needs to be done, but then there's like a ton of other people that he needs to make sure with that
Hmm.
everything. So like I'm like I want to work one-on-one with people, but I don't know what. So I was just like at this really, crossroads. I didn't know what I was gonna do, and so I decided that I needed to be surrounded by mom entrepreneurs because I feel like that's my problem. A lot of my mom friends, they're amazing and I love them so much, but they do not understand what I'm doing at all.
They
Like
don't understand
nobody.
business, right?
They had no, yeah. They're like, oh, Vicky's playing around on Facebook all day.
Yeah.
Literally. Like everyone said that. And so I was like, okay, I need to surround myself with moms who are entrepreneurs, who
Mm.
understand this whole life of an entrepreneur. And so I started a group on Meetup called Mompreneur Community. And like so many moms just came out of nowhere because I just posted it on Meetup, and we just started this community and we ran it for about 9 months. And I just started hearing all this.
Questions,
Oh,
advice, all the stuff.
exactly. And the
Okay.
fact that, moms wanted stories. So that's how it all began. So I think that the key here is, looking back at my life, when you're frustrated and you don't know what you're doing, or you don't know where you're going, the main thing, the most important thing that you need to do is to take action,
Mm.
whatever it is,
Mm.
whatever, like I know you probably think, oh, it's not perfect, or oh, it's probably not the thing that I want to do forever and ever. Of course, it's not. I mean, it's not like you're going to be doing this for the rest of your life because you're going to change, you're going to evolve, you're going to grow. And so just take that next step that you think is right for today, and then you'll see what happens. And so I think that from that time when I took that first step, I think so many incredible opportunities just opened up, and I've gained clarity through action. So sorry, I went on a totally different
No,
route
that
here,
makes
but
perfect sense. I think that's really what I wanted to know because, Mompreneur Show didn't just come from nowhere. And, you said it was sort of podcasts and you kind of knew what type of show you wanted to make, but how you came to that is really interesting to me because you're 60 episodes in or so now, and you've clearly set a pace for yourself and have this track record of success that's really impressive. Like we're very impressed here with you and your show. So thank you so
thank you
much.
so much.
That's our pleasure. And you're the one doing all the work. So let's talk a little bit about some of the secret ingredients that make your show work, and give hopefully some advice here for some of the viewers that they can copy. So what would you like to start with? You want to start with the gear, or would you want to start with the practices for interviews?
You know what? I mean, whatever. Let's start talking about the interviews,
Okay,
for sure.
let's get started with that.
Um,
The classic look of the 2x2 side by side. Your show really makes it look really good. I think it's an art to bring people in, to a show and set up an interview correctly. And so here's a thank you, Deborah Lee. Here's a great shot of one of your shows. And I think you mentioned when people first saw this, like this is the video, like this is you and your guest Megan in the same picture in the video, and with your logo and everything and titles and graphics. Tell us about how you came to this, and and then we'll talk about your guide a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I went from Blab to Mompreneur to Facebook Live using Wirecast, I really wanted to keep the same look because what happened is Blab, I would just get like a video and I would have to put a canvas over it and make it pretty. And so what I did, I just created a canvas for Wirecast where I could just put my little my little windows in and have a side by side look. And in the beginning, when Facebook Live just started, and when you guys started released or whatever, opened the API, whatever you say in techie terms, I started doing it right away. I had a really great friend, have a really great friend, Jennifer Dono. She's done Wirecast and interviews for years and years before I did. And she did it on YouTube. She did Gen Cast and then Young Female Entrepreneurs. And so I reached out to her and she has helped me set everything up, helped me test it. And so that's why I was able to run in and do my show so quickly 3 days after I got the software. But when I started doing that side by side, I was one of the first interview shows on Facebook Live, and I think Luria from Live Streaming Pros also did a show with bringing guests in here and there because her and David did the show in the beginning, and so people started seeing that and they started freaking out. They're like, "What are you doing? How are you doing this?" And that's when Michael Hyatt reached out to me and he's like, "Vicky, come on, you got to teach me how to do this." I want to do a Facebook Live show too, and I want to bring guests in. And I was like, OMG, like this guy who I learned from, who I buy his books, like is asking me for advice now. I'm like, yes, please. So that's when I got on the phone, on the call with him, and I showed him everything. And then I created a guide just specifically for him on how to bring in a guest. So, I already showed him on video, but I just wanted him to have like something to reference to. And that is something that I want to give away to you today. If you want to learn how to bring in a guest and have like the side-by-side look, I created a PDF that has like step-by-step instructions. But I promise it's a very simple process. It's nothing crazy. You just got to know which buttons to press. And the PDF guide will show you exactly how to do it. It's really, really simple.
It's perfect. So I entered the link into the chats on Facebook and YouTube. So you guys should be able to download that.
So
Oh, no, thank you. And then we're going to be thanking each other all day here because and then I also here, as you can see on my screen, this is sort of a quick peek at the guide. So it looks like it's about 10 pages or so, and 10 or 12 pages. And Vicky's, you've put in screenshots of Wirecast and how to add things, and it looks like you're keeping it up to date because this looks like very current user interface shots.
I believe this is still Wirecast 7-ish.
Okay, all this should still apply though. Nothing here looks like it would change at all in 8. And 8's great, but as far as the same principles here, you should still be able to apply them just as easily.
Absolutely. And if you guys have any questions, like feel free to Facebook message me or email me. I'm like, I get emails and messages, especially messages to the Mompreneur Show all the time. Like, wait, I just saw your show. How do you do that? So I'm like, it's Wirecast. It's Wirecast. So I'm a huge fan of you guys and a huge evangelist, kind of like you, Andrew. And I just tell the whole world how amazing you guys are.
Go forth. I give you official, powers to be an evangelist for Wirecast.
Thank you.
And actually, I just had an idea about 8 and your show. So in 8, we added the ability to bring in reflections. So you can add a reflection to any source, whether it's your cameras or your graphics or whatever. And I think the reflection aesthetic might work really well with some of the stuff that you're doing. So you should try it, and we'll see what the results look like. But yeah.
Yes, I'm definitely playing around with the 8, and it's amazing. And I've watched some of your videos on introducing it and the really cool things that you guys added. The transitions I'm really excited about because I'm a huge fan of ScreenFlow. That's actually how I edit my show after. Now, okay, I'm like totally going off.
Yeah, no, we have a little time. Go for it.
And that's the thing. I don't the beauty of Wirecast is that when you go live and you do your show, that's it. Like it's already edited. That's
right, you're done.
Like you're done. Everything, the lower thirds, everything is already done for you. So it's like you don't have to sit there for hours like putting the show together. The only thing that I do is I cut off the pre-show because I have a 10-minute pre-show where I just chit chat, and then the at the end, I usually just get ahead of myself and I just talk too much. So I just cut that off as well. And so that's all I do in ScreenFlow. But it's such a great tool because sometimes I do video tutorials. Like I created a course and I had to do a lot of editing because, edit out some of the things and some of the mistakes. And so Wirecast works perfectly for it. I mean, excuse me. ScreenFlow works perfectly for it. So I just think it's so amazing that I have two of your incredible pieces of software that are a huge part of my business. So I thank you so much for that.
Oh, thank you. And for those who don't know ScreenFlow, it's Mac only. So you do need to be a Mac user if you're going to use ScreenFlow. But if you have a Mac, Vicky, I think you're like, I mean, I know I'm a biased source here, but I even before I came to work at Telestream, ScreenFlow was just like one of my go-to tools. It's just so important especially if you're on Mac.
Absolutely. I'm so glad I found it. I mean, somebody told me about it in 2012 and I was like, Camtasia or ScreenFlow? Camtasia or ScreenFlow? And I'm like, ScreenFlow. And I've never looked back. I mean, I've been updating it and it's just an amazing tool.
Okay, so speaking of tools, you have also created a gear guide, and I think I told you before the show that this is, I think, the best gear guide that we've had on the show. So let me pull this up. It is at mompreneurshow.com, if I can spell correctly, and it is /gear guide. Is that correct? All right.
Gear-guide.
Gear-guide. And I will also chat this in, or actually, Trevor, if you have a second, that would be great. So it's a gear guide. You. And we're going to pull this up real fast. So this is a list of the tools, the physical tools. And you said you'll come back and update this with software that you're also going to add. But for now, you have all the physical equipment and electronics that you use to do your one-woman show. So let's talk a little bit about these. And if you're curious, you can get the complete guide you'll actually email them. Oh no, that's the side-by-side, right? Okay.
Yeah, that's just a side-by-side. If they want to do the side-by-side PDF, that's at the very bottom. But if they want my gear guide, it's without any opt-in. It's just right there on a public page.
Okay, so the gear guide, just go to mompreneurshow.com/gear-guide. And then, so let's talk a little bit. Okay, so you have an HD webcam, looks like a C920.
It's a C9. Okay, I mentioned a C920, but that's what I upgraded from. So it's a C922, I think.
C922. Okay.
And I mean, it was not necessary for me to update because it was just like literally the same thing, only a little bit better. But I mean, they just updated C90 to C9022. So for you, if you're starting out, it will make sense to get the newer version, obviously.
Right.
But it's a great camera. Like I'm looking at it right now. It's on my laptop, just clipped onto my laptop, super easy. I get a lot of comments like, "Wow, your video looks so crisp." It's a webcam.
It's amazing.
It costs. It's $80 and it's not like a super awesome black magic camera that's like across my room and that costs thousands of dollars. It's $80. It's super simple and it does its job.
It does. You look amazing. The room, the lighting, crisp, everything looks great. And so it seems like lighting might be a huge key here, right? So I actually want to skip down the list and talk a little bit about your studio lights. So clearly we're not seeing them now, but you've got two softbox lights right behind you or in front of you.
Yep, they're right in front of me and they're a little bit at an angle. So I think it's really important to have lights at an angle, one on one side and one on the other side. I used to have 3 other sets of lights that I used back, from 2012 and on, and it was never the right fit. I had this boom thing that I always fiddled around with. It was such a pain. I always had to have my husband put it together because I couldn't figure it out with the weights and stuff. And then another light that I had, which was also a softbox, had like 4 separate lights in there. And that was a time where I would travel and it was just such a pain to take it apart, put it together again every single time. And so I shared my frustration with David Foster. I was like, I don't know, like it's so annoying, all these like light bulbs and stuff. He's like, no, you should get this set. And this is the one that I got probably a year ago now, and it has been amazing. It's one huge bulb, and it's just perfect. It's amazing. The light is great. It's only 2 of them because I was like, oh, you need 3.
You need the 3-point lighting system.
Yeah,
right.
Well, you don't. Keep it simple. Like it is pretty much almost dark outside right now. and my overhead light is off, and it is lighting up my face and my surroundings. So I think it's pretty good.
Nice. Yeah, so these are just PBL studio lights here. I have them, I pulled them up here. You've linked to each one on Amazon or where you can buy. And just to give you an idea here, they're like just barely more expensive than the camera. And here's the kit. It looks super easy. There's a nice travel bag and nice.
Yes. And you know what? Like there are lights, they look just like this, and they're $60. They're $80. They look just like it, but they're from like a different company and stuff. Just come on, just fork out the extra $20, $40, and just buy these. Seriously, you will not regret it. I'm telling you. It's like they're so simple and they work so well, and it's just I can't say any more good stuff about them.
All right. Well, they're working for you. So, and it sounds like you tried other ones. So you've come to this over time. So it's not like it's the first stuff you bought. You actually came to this and you're like, this is
exactly.
You learned
from
experience.
From my mistakes.
Yes. This is why we're doing this. All right. So I want to take a quick check-in with the audience here. If you guys had questions or comments on any of that. Thank you, Trevor, for putting the link to the gear guide in there. So Dave says he's had both ScreenFlow and Wirecast, and they're both great. Thank you, Dave. Canal Cristiano says hola from Dominican Republic. Hey, welcome. And it looks like we also have Michelle is saying thanks for the magical Wirecast gear recommendations and streaming shows. And then Nina says, yes, the lighting does in fact look amazing. Okay, so I wanted to quickly talk a little bit more. You know, you guys can go down the gear guide, but I want to keep moving on. So go check this out. She's got recommendations for just about everything. And one of the things that I noticed on your gear guide that I think I use here is the earphones, invisible ear monitors. And I actually have mine hooked over the back. And once I got these, I was so happy. And you see, yours is hidden by your hair. I don't have the benefit, but you know, the minute you put them in, like it makes you kind of feel like a newscaster. You feel like professional, and they stay in your ears. You don't have like these cords like dragging down like in front of you, which get in your way, or you can pull them out of your ears. These are great.
Yes, Andrew, you have no idea how many times I got messages from people who are doing a show or want to do a show, and they're literally all caps. How do you not wear headphones when you're having a guest on and when you're doing your show? Like literally, that I'm freaking out. I'm like, here they are, but right. You can't see them.
Yep.
So, and they were recommended to me by Michael Hyatt, actually. So they're amazing. They're amazing.
The MEE Sports-Fi M6, and I think I have literally this exact same pair probably, and they are amazing. They're just so useful, and I think that is another incredible tip here, because we're gonna actually get into the next step, which is bringing in or talking about some of the ways to Skype in or bring in callers, and I cannot stress this enough, but you must, best practices is wear headphones. You should not have a speaker that is in the same room as your microphone, because when your guest talks, their voice will get picked up on your microphone unless you're wearing headphones. So when your guest talks, they really need to be going into your ear, not into the room. Now, you can kind of get by because some of the conferencing technology will try to account for that, but it is not the best audio quality. You will not, because it has to filter out that voice. So absolutely. Yeah, so I just want to stress that enough. So headphones, super important. And these are like $26 or something. They're not much, and they're great. So Vicky, we had a question here from Mike. He's wondering, are you using Rendezvous for this interview? And do you want to take that right now, or tell us kind of what we're using right now and what you've used for your show, and then we can talk more about Rendezvous.
Yeah, so Wirecast 8 just came out with that amazing feature, and I'm playing around with it right now, but I've taken a break over the summer, and it's kind of taking a little bit longer for me to get back into the show.
Do you want to explain a little bit why you're taking a break real fast?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so we took a month vacation. We went to Portland, and we're like, yay, we're going to be social media free mostly, and just really spend time with my family because we live on the other coast. And I was planning to start the show in August, yay! But then I came back and I found that I was pregnant. And the way I found out that I was like, thank you. And we're so excited because we've always wanted a little girl, and hopefully it's a little girl. If it's a boy, we're excited too because I have two older boys,
Mhm.
and they're 9 and 6. So we're really been really craving for a baby, but that really shifted our schedule
Mhm.
because I have been really, really low energy. And if you have ever been pregnant with morning sickness,
I have
it's like
not.
the worst. Okay,
Although
I'm
my wife
talking
has, so
yeah.
I've seen it up close. I've seen it up close, and it is. I mean, I think all men are very, I think I could say that hats off to every woman who's been through pregnancy. I mean, it's just that's what proved to me that without a doubt my wife is stronger than I am. She's way stronger.
Yeah, women, we are strong. We are stronger than we think. And it's just, one of the things. And I'm like, no, I'm still doing it. No problem. It's all going to happen. I'm going to keep my promise. But here's the thing. I did that last year. I traveled. I rented a studio every single Monday for the show, and I made it happen every single week. And I just stuck to my plan. But here's the thing where you come to realize that your business has to work around your life, not the other way around.
Mm.
And so I'm really taking that in. I'm really experiencing that for myself right now. And I'm saying that, you know what? I'm not going to push myself beyond what I can do.
Mm.
And this is just the time that I need to wait out. And I can start as soon as I get my energy level back and as soon as I am ready. And so I know that a lot of people say it's so bad for your Facebook page because your reach is going down. You're going to lose your audience. But you know what? My true audience, the amazing moms that watch the show that are keeping up, that are still checking in with me on email and Instagram, and they will always be there. And more will come. And so I just think that it's important for me to take the time off for right now and really take care of my family, take care of myself,
Mm.
and then get back into it when I'm ready, which should be really soon. So.
Yeah, and I'm excited because this will be the first phase of the Mompreneur Show with a new baby. So it's going to give you a
Yeah,
whole new perspective on the mompreneur, and being a mompreneur with a young
absolutely.
baby, right? I mean, your kids
Absolutely.
were, little, but they weren't babies when you started the show, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting and see how, and maybe it'll bring out a whole bunch of new, interesting topics that you can explore and things to bring on the show and experiences. So I can't
It
wait to see.
absolutely will.
Yeah, my wife and I will be definitely tuning in. And if you're watching,
Thank
Celine, I love you. Thanks for watching my show. And she always lets our children watch sometimes. So I always have a little fan base back home. I don't have a big fan group, but I
Oh,
do have a small committed one.
oh, that's awesome. That's the most important thing. And that's what you need to focus on is serving those who do show up, do come and listen to your show. So,
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about Skype and Zoom and Rendezvous. So let's talk a little bit about that. When you started on Blab, and then you moved over to Wirecast, and did you start right away with Skype calling and screen capture and bring that in that way, or did you go
so
straight to Zoom?
before I answer this question, I want to thank you so much for bringing us back on topic because I'm known for going off topic all the time. So when I transitioned into using Wirecast with Facebook Live, I used Skype. But then I started having issues with Skype. And so I think that we're going into a transition with updating it. And so I would get drop calls. And, that's not the case right now, it seems like. But that's the time when I was like, okay, forget it. I cannot do this
Mm,
right now because I already had drop calls during my show when it's live. You
mm,
can't do much about it. And so that's when I switched to Zoom. And Zoom has worked really, really well for me. I like the fact that I can just send them a link and not have to not have to take their username and wait for them to accept my request
mhm.
and things like that. So Zoom is great, especially like now we're talking via Zoom and excuse me, Skype. We're talking via Skype right now and it's great. It's working amazing. But just for now, for the show, I'm using Zoom, and then I'm definitely planning to use your I
Rendezvous.
can never pronounce it.
Rendezvous. And we're actually going to have maybe a contest on that, pronounce or spell rendezvous. So we're talking about that. But in the meantime, actually, tell us a little bit about Zoom. Are you using the paid? Because I know they have a free, they have a paid. What have you found as far as the plan that works for you?
So I just upgraded to paid just because I heard that you can link Calendly with Zoom and have Zoom give Calendly the link and have it in their calendar when they get the email. So
Okay.
like it's very hands off, but it has not been the case. It has been such a headache. And so there's absolutely no difference with premium Zoom for me, the plus Zoom Plus, and the regular free Zoom because I don't ever go on calls with 5 people or more. I have unlimited talk with one person, and it was completely fine. I might, if I don't figure out the whole Calendly and Zoom thing, I might just go back
Drop
and
back.
drop back because it's that the benefits that they have for Plus, I'm just not using them at all.
And did they
So,
cut you off after 40 minutes on the free
you know
version?
what? I was like, what? I go over an hour with my guests all the time because of the pre-show
Yeah.
and I never get cut off. And I'm like, that's so weird. How come I never get cut off? And
Yeah.
then I went to Zoom just like last week, and it does not say that. It actually says 40 minutes with like two or more, three or more people or something. It's actually unlimited time with one person.
One-on-one. Got it.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So I love it.
Okay, so that's Zoom. Skype, we use Skype here right now because we have the NewTek Skype machine or talk show box, and it's it's a few $1,000s. It's a bit nicer. It was designed for broadcast studios and major networks who wanted to Skype people in, and it was designed by the Skype team and Microsoft to bring in up to 1080p video for high bandwidth connections. So it's not for everybody, but it's definitely an enterprise sort of level video conferencing and broadcasting. And then it goes right into a capture card or a baseband capture system into Wirecast. So that's what we typically use for the show. When it comes to Rendezvous was just released with Wirecast 8, and we're super excited about it. This is a pretty magical way for people without Skype or Zoom to bring guests directly into Wirecast right on a layer, right in the shots. You just send them a link, they click on it, and it just opens, and they're in your Wirecast projects. So it's a way to cut out all the screen capture, other computers, and other things. Now, that being said, we've noticed that people just think that it's going to work no matter what. And you still need to have your guests test their internet connections. That's going to matter no matter what. They can't just magically show up if they have a bad internet connection. If they're on Wi-Fi or cell phone connections, which is great, we do work Rendezvous right into the Wirecast Go app, so you can do that. But those are still subject to whatever's going on Verizon or your Wi-Fi or interference from other radio signals. You just never know. So keep that in mind. You'll want to test, and if you really want to do the high quality 1080, 1280p video and all that stuff, you should run tests ahead of time before you bring in a caller on Skype. You should do it before you do it. We did a test yesterday, Vicky, with our Skype machine. I'm sure you do tests with your guests on Zoom and other things. So it's important to test. And whether you're using Skype, Zoom, or Rendezvous, make sure you test first.
Yeah, and testing is really important, although I don't test with my guests. And, I think it depends on what type of guests that you have. But for me, I feel like I give a 20-minute time frame with my guest, and I have all this information from them already, like what their Wi-Fi is like. I already have them. They already know it's on Zoom. They already have all this information. And so I kind of protect myself that way, but stuff always happens anyways.
Yes.
So,
yes. Even when
it's always a good idea to test for sure.
Yeah, if you have time and your guest is willing. Sometimes your guest's too busy and they can't, and you just got to take your chances. It's live.
Yes.
All right. So I want to be cognizant of your time. We've gone after the hour here, so I think it's probably time to sort of wrap things up. I'd like to check in with the audience one more time and just see if there's any last few questions we can answer before we sign off for today. Sound good?
Yeah, absolutely. And then there's another thing, and I don't want to take over like
No, no,
our
no.
interview, but I did mention in the very beginning that I wanted to just touch upon a little bit of the automation part
Yes,
of
yes.
automating your conversation with your guest. And so one of the things that I do is I have them complete a form, and the form is hosted on my website, plugin by Gravity Form, which is like $40. It's a premium plugin, which is worth every single penny. And I ask questions like, how many kids you have, because it's a really important fact that I just share on the show, which I've gotten
Hmm.
wrong so many times. And then I have a place where they can attach their photos. So they're giving me all their information in one spot. Because in the beginning, I used to always go back and forth, 10 emails back and forth with a future guest. That was not very convenient for them or
Mm.
myself, not very efficient. And so that's when I came up with a form. I asked all the questions, how they want to be introduced, what's their social media links, what they want to talk about most, what they're passionate about, everything. If they have anything to share, and then they agree to my recording rights, and then I get that email with all their information, their photo, attachment, everything. And that triggers an email from ConvertKit that automatically emails it to them. That's called Mompreneur Show Details #1, that gives them all the details, what time we'll meet, what we're going to talk about, all the little things, the little questions, all the sorts of stuff. And then it says, look out for email #2 tomorrow. And then the next day, ConvertKit automatically sends them an email, says that's titled Mompreneur Show Details #2. And it has all the techie details, like
Mm.
make sure you're plugged in, make sure you're sitting across the window for your face to have good lighting, because mompreneurs typically don't have
Yeah, they'll sit with the window behind them, not in front of them.
yes, and they don't have lights,
Right.
and I had a mompreneur one time that came on the show with her laptop on her lap. And so like I mentioned all of these things, like make sure your laptop, your camera is on your eye level, like all of these things I mentioned, everything that I went through, I mentioned it. So like, so it doesn't happen again. Like make sure you're in a quiet room, things like that. And so that has helped me so much, and that has helped the guests because it's really hands off for me,
Hmm.
and for them, they get the information a week prior. So I only
Mm.
send them that the to fill out the form a week prior, because I often book my guests months in advance,
Right.
and I don't want to clog their brain with extra
Right.
information.
And be
So.
like, I sent that to you 6 months ago. So I just want to say, Vicky, you are a genius. You're a stone cold genius for coming up with that, because I know Deborah Lee was like listening that whole time, being like, because we definitely do the email back. We are not, yeah, yeah. She's saying, I need that, I need that. So we
I will sign
are
it to you.
completely going to start doing that, because I've been wanting to automate how we onboard guests onto the show, and we do it very informally. We'll email them, and we ask them for their headshot and some bio and that sort of stuff, and often we'll talk with them. We'll have a conversation before they come on the show, but oh man, that sounds so much better. So we are
Oh,
going to do
thank you.
that.
But I do have to say, I do have to say, like, I've done it for a long time, the back and forth emails,
Mm,
but Deborah Lee does it
she does.
so
She
beautifully. I mean,
does.
she's like the sweetest person ever. Like, I've never had such a beautiful invitation, such beautiful follow-up. I hadn't answered her emails for weeks, and she's nicely followed up. I mean, she's
She's
amazing. Deborah Lee,
amazing.
I
We
hope you're
would,
hearing this. You're amazing.
yes, yes, she is amazing, and we would
And
not do the show without her.
Andrew, I do want to mention, I know we want to talk about this, but I think we're like we don't have time.
We'll
But
run out of time here.
I created a course that has like a ton of information about that, and like a really long video about my whole onboarding process with screenshots and all that stuff. And
Where can people
um,
find that course? Because I know you're offering that. You did it with Luria from the Live Streaming Pros, and it's a
yes.
whole Wirecast course. So where can people get that?
So I can just paste a link really
Okay.
quick into the chat.
Okay.
Um, oh, and it's so funny. It's like a tagging Wirecast because it has
The
Wirecast.
Wirecast. Okay.
How do I? Okay, there you go. All right, so I just posted the link on Facebook, and I'm gonna post it in here. And thank you so much for letting me do that. I just
No,
think
no.
that the course was like insanely affordable, and
So please go check it out if you're curious. I know you and Luria, and I know you guys must have done a fantastic job on that. So definitely you guys go check that out because you can just listen to Vicky. It's going to be worth it. And then we can put a link to that in our show notes as well. And then also I assume where can people, they can go to mompreneursshow.com to get more information, including all the courses and stuff like that and past episodes?
Yes.
Okay.
So mompreneursshow.com, that you'll get all the details there. And then you can find me on Facebook /Mompreneur Show Live. So, I mean, if you just search Facebook,
there we go.
It'll pop up. Yep. Thank you so much, Deborah Lee. And then you can email me like anytime, Vicky@mompreneursshow.com. I'm an open book. I love helping people. And if you need like a super hands-on holding, I can coach you through it. But if it's like a simple question or whatever, like I would love to help you.
You're going to start needing an assistant.
Thanks.
Just kind of, you have to give someone a leg up, just how you guys started. And I have one final question for you, Vicky, before we end for today. And thank you for being on here. Are you still a podcast junkie?
No, I am not. And thank you for asking that, because I did say I used to be a podcast junkie. And the reason for that is that now I am embracing the concept of just-in-time learning. And that is a concept where I listen to podcasts, but I no longer listen to them like binging on them. I now listen to them specifically by topic and specifically by person. So if I want to learn more about this person or what they're teaching, I do searches and I listen to that. Or if I want to learn on a certain topic, for example, email marketing or maybe Facebook ads, and I listen to those particular episodes only.
Smart. All right. Well, Vicky, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on our show. I can't wait to have you on again. And we will see you soon.
Andrew, thank you so much for having me. You guys are amazing. I know it seems like it's just you, but there's a whole team behind you. And I just want to thank you and everyone else for being so amazing and helping me come on and hosting me here. I feel like I'm there right in your studio and just being so kind. I appreciate you so much.
Hey, likewise. And you made it really easy on us. It's always great to work with a pro.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Well, have a good one, Vicky. We'll see you next time. Everybody, that is our show for today. So thanks so much for tuning in. As you heard Vicky, she's just so warm, wonderful. You should follow her. Go watch her episodes. Check her out at mompreneursshow.com. You won't regret it. She's got so much valuable information and resources to share for you, even if you're not a mompreneur. So by no means let that turn you off, because she knows her Wirecast, she knows live broadcast, she knows automation, she knows all kinds of stuff. So go check her out. All right, and I want to say that if you want to check us out, please subscribe to our email list or follow us on social media channels. You can find us there, and do share this out. I think this was a great episode, and I think a lot of people would benefit from it if you share it out. So please, we would appreciate that. And here's the email list you can sign up for. I'd also like to thank our partners. They are magic as well, and they help us do this show. So we use a lot of the technologies. We mentioned Skype, we mentioned New Blue Effects. Our prompter people allows me to see my guest right as I look at the camera, so I can see Vicky as I speak with her, and it's almost like a person-to-person conversation. I love that. And then Magewell, AJA, Archon Mounts, and the rest of them. I also want to say big thanks to Deborah Lee and Trevor behind the scenes. They also make this show possible. So we'll see you in 2 weeks when we're back here with Travis White from New Blue Effects, talking about bringing in live graphics and titles. Lots of these animations you see that Deborah Lee's bringing on the screen, we do that with New Blue Effects. So we can't wait to have them on and talk about what's new in their product. I will see you guys in 2 weeks. Thanks for tuning in. This has been another episode of Wirecast Live.